Welcome, everybody, to the Whiskey and Business Podcast. This is Josh. I'm Travis, and we have a guest here today, Andy, who is a local realtor.
So Andy and I have been friends for, almost 2 years now. And I met him online during his podcast. I was, episode 6 or 7 or something like that?
Pretty early on. When I first started.
Andy's pretty prevalent out here in real estate. I mean, he's killing it. So we're going to talk about all things real estate marketing in this episode, why it's kind of important, and what Andy's seen in the realm of doing his marketing. So let's just kick it off with Travis. He's going to go over some of the video stuff of what Andy's doing because he's killing it online. I'm sure everybody sees his podcast and stuff. So
awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for having me on the show. It's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for having. Oh, let's go into the whiskey first before we do it. So this episode we have the Ballatin bourbon. So this is just chocolate bourbon. I mean, it's if you smell it, it really doesn't smell like you kind of get the whiff of chocolate, but dude, it doesn't smell how it tastes, dude. This is like basically you melting down a chocolate turtle and then just chugging that. So at the end of this, we'll review it. So enjoy it while you can in the beginning. Gosh, dude, that's crazy. Yeah, that's insane. Now we'll start with some video stuff.
That's actually really good. I'm not an alcohol drinker. I think I'd drink that.
You would?
Like on a regular basis.
Dude, isn't it crazy? Like it doesn't seem like you're drinking bourbon.
I was expecting it to be much stronger after smelling it, but tasting it, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, just pour over some ice and you got yourself a dessert.
You have to buy some of this.
I know, dude. That's a good drink to just have.
Oh, yeah. It's great. Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into realty and just a little bit about your experiences with that, and then we'll dive into the marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me, I want to turn my phone down so you guys don't get interrupted here.
Just dinging all day?
Always. I was a mechanic for close to 10 years, worked on heavy equipment, hydraulic components and things like that. And then when I transitioned into real estate, I've always been very interested in marketing, right? You're a marketing guy and you do media, but to be a business owner, I think you have to be a marketer, because everybody who gets into business thinks that it's just a matter of, whether they have a skill or a service or a product that they sell, that they just need to focus on that. But you could have the best service, product, or skill in the world, but if you don't know how to get it in front of everyone, how are you going to grow your business? So from the very beginning, I've been very interested in how do I get the most attention for the least amount of money, and then started using social media, using video. We all know how important video is. Started my podcast, which is audio and video, and just able to mix things up with that. And then, here we are, 3+ years later.
So you jumped straight into the marketing. It wasn't like I need to do something different. Your mindset was always thinking.
I knew before I even got into... So let me back up a little bit. Before I got into real estate, I was a mechanic, and I knew that I was worried that I couldn't afford to go into real estate. So I started out of thin air. I started a online off-road tire and parts business. So I started drop shipping tire and wheel packages, off-road parts, bumpers, things like that. Through that, which ended up I don't do it anymore. It served its purpose for a period of time, but I learned a ton through that just with social media. You talk about it all the time, like not to boost ads. I learned those mistakes very rapidly within a 2 to 3 month window, and I just realized what they were. They were boosted ads that were just going to get me more presence, but they weren't bringing me clients. Funny thing was, even with all those mistakes, I think there was a few months there where I was bringing in $10,000 to $12,000 in revenue with no website, just selling stuff on Facebook and Instagram.
Dang.
So from there, it was just like, okay, well, I watched, before I came into the real estate industry, I watched what other people were doing. And it was always the same boring thing. And I still went through the same cycle.
Right.
So it's not like I knew everything up front, but I already had enough mindset of saying, hey, all these realtors are doing the same marketing of, hey, come buy or sell a home with me. And I did that for a period of time and realized, okay, I'm not going to go down the same road. So we're going to get a little bit more unique with it. And then that's kind of how I got into my podcast.
So you kind of did like market research while also getting your feet wet, marketing this other business and seeing what worked, what didn't, like your own version of like A/B testing.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. Like,
And you kept going.
yeah.
You got into real estate right after, and then applied everything you learned. And that's the mistake a lot of people make is they get to this point where some stuff starts to not work, and they learned all this good information, and then they just go back into the working force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and I think that people don't learn. I observe what people do. So whether it's people or business owners, I observe what are they doing, how did they grow their business, and I'm not talking about people who are at the same level as me. I'm watching people who are where I aspire to be, and see what they're doing. What are the patterns that they're doing online? And then for me, I knew that it can be very overwhelming to utilize social media and video and all the things to market your business. So I just had to figure out the system that worked for me. So in the very beginning, it was just doing a podcast. We'd split it up into 7 days. When I started editing the podcast myself, I'd split it up so that I would have at least one clip a day systematically. And from there, I just thought of it in layers. So I would have one podcast clip a day. And then from there, it was like, okay, well, now I need one image a day. And I would create the images, and then I would pre-schedule those out. So then they were just systemized. Because if I had to go do 7 posts a day, every day manually, well, that probably would last a week, and then I would not.
You get burned out too. It is. You get burned out pretty quick.
Burned out, and it's just like everyone else who says, "Oh, I'm going to jump into social media," and you see them go really hard for about 7 to 10 days, and then it's like, where'd they go?
It's because they wanted to be the best right off the bat. They didn't pace themselves or figure out how to make their lives easier. A lot of people actually don't know about the scheduling apps.
I wanted to be the best too. I just was more committed to make sure I knew what my weaknesses were first, and that was when I get busy, I get overwhelmed and drop off different things. So it's like, well, I just won't allow myself to do that.
Yeah, burnout happens so quick, especially if you don't get that instant gratification.
Yeah,
where you're seeing the results.
And there's a lot of delayed gratification in this business.
Right. It's like, oh, I didn't get that many likes on that post. Oh, what's the point? Right. Immediately just kind of drop off the map over just not feeling like the efforts are worth it.
Even now, I mean, I was just telling you guys before we started recording that I'm recording my 70th episode today. And even now, there's times where certain shows don't do very well, or podcast clips that are going online are, down to like 20 views. But it is what it is. What I realized too is when I had people reaching out to me that I hadn't talked to in 10 plus years that never liked a post, never commented or engaged with me, but randomly would say, "Hey, I've been watching all of your shows since the beginning. These are great. This has helped me do this." And then I realized it was like a big shift for me where I was like, okay, so even though the views are low and I'm not getting engagement from all these people, they're still seeing it.
Right.
I'm still present, and they're seeing what's happening, whether they pay attention to every clip or not. It's reaching people that I don't even know about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've noticed that like standard posts might not get a lot of likes, but then someone on the street that I haven't seen in months will be like, "Oh, I see all of your stuff all the time." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Oh."
That never comments, never likes it.
You haven't liked or
yeah.
Because you see like,
most people don't.
There's not much liking or commenting going on, and you're thinking it's not reaching people, or you're going just off of that little orange bar on Facebook. But then you realize that content, it doesn't just go away, it stays.
Yep.
And the more content that's there, the better, because people see that you mean business and you're not just going to disappear after a while.
I've received business from people. So in real estate, there's different Facebook groups and stuff I'm a part of that realtors have send referrals back and forth. I've gotten business multiple times just simply from the fact that they went online and saw the amount of stuff I had, and they said, "Okay, he knows what he's doing," and they sent me business.
Without even watching the stuff, they said, "Oh, he's got a lot of content. It's good."
A lot of content, and then my name was present in the Facebook groups because I'm very active in those areas.
Right.
So it's not just posting, I'm actually active online. I'm commenting with people, and I'm talking with people and engaging with others. And it's really without expecting something in return.
Well, it brings almost like a legitimacy, like when a business is actively doing marketing and content creation and putting that effort in order for people to learn about who they are.
Yeah,
it really shows. And that's one thing I was going to ask you is I've noticed that the real estate market is like super oversaturated.
Oh, with
And
realtors?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
like when I talk to a realtor
Realtors and
about
buyers.
marketing, I'm like, well, the first thing you need to do is do something, because how are you going to like
Stand out of the crowd.
show that you are different? How are you going to actually be different than the thousands of competitors you have, and half of them are, in your own little bubble?
And and you guys know this. It's like that with any business. I mean,
Yeah.
take a car dealership, for example. What sets them apart compared to what's one Chevy dealership different than the rest of them?
Right.
You know? So, yeah, it's I had to figure out ways to differentiate myself from everyone else.
What has video done for you though? Like so far, like so I know everybody sees it online, whether indirectly or directly, you're everywhere, and and that just within the last year and a half, you're just every day you got something coming out, pictures coming out. How did you transition into getting that process started, and then what kind of out of the year to year and a half, what have you seen through doing that?
So the process was getting it started. I'll start there. I took enough time to step back and look at, okay, what am I going to do? First, it was the podcast, right? So it wasn't all this crazy. It wasn't all these different videos and YouTube and everything at first. It was just the podcast. It was audio and video. Video went to YouTube, and then I would share everything to Facebook. I thought about it for quite some time before, though, where I would actually, I said, okay, if I'm gonna do this, what's it going to be about? And am I committed to doing this long term? This isn't going to be like because the average podcaster drops off after about 7 episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Oh, man, that's crazy.
I actually went through and did some research, and I planned it. And I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, this is like a forever thing. I'm going to continue this for the foreseeable future, and it's not going to stop.
Right.
Because I knew that there'd be ups and downs, right? The days that you're busy, and it's been hard. But I took all that, and then I started implementing it in my business. And I don't know that there wasn't like a pivotal moment where I was like, oh man, look at all this video, what's doing. It's just collectively over time, I have seen my business go from a very low point, being newer into real estate, and just completely taking off. And you guys are seeing it with the growth of my team,
Yeah.
The amount of transactions we're doing. So some of it's trackable, some of it's not. I know that the stuff that's trackable, I actually have tangible like data that can say, yeah, this is the amount of attention you're getting. This is the leads that are coming in, especially when we run ads. But video itself, I think more than anything, I've noticed it more of an indirect way where people are reaching out to me saying, hey, I'm watching your stuff online. It's crazy. Like, look at all this. And
Right.
people I would never have known about. And now I'm having people reach out to me, not only for like business stuff, but like actually wanting to get into the business.
Right.
They're not just calling me about selling their homes. They're like, hey, how do we come work with you?
Well, it's like an investment over time. Like,
yeah, the
you
content's
are
evergreen,
investing
basically.
that time versus investing money into something, but that time spent just grows over time. Like, it's becoming this really
There's a moment
big-
that kind of hits where it gets your process a little bit easier, but then there's that like time where you get that deal from a view and you're like, okay, so there's something to this, and then it motivates you to keep going. And now you're getting the notoriety from most people looking up online, especially with the keywords for like real estate and stuff. You're prevalent online because of your omnipresence.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to be omnipresent across multiple channels. So it's not just, I would say for anyone who's starting out in business, obviously, I'm sure you guys would agree, if you're not doing anything, start somewhere, even if it's one place,
Right.
and then add on. For me, it's like, well, I don't even know how many channels. I mean, it's like, I literally try to be on I'm on every platform now. I pushed back on TikTok for a while, but I finally jumped on that train.
Fine.
I think everybody pushed back on TikTok thinking like, oh, I don't want to go on there and dance,
But it's-
and whatever. But dude, it's a channel that's here to stay, man.
You gotta go
But
where the viewers are.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of making sure that people plan what they're going to do. But yeah, I don't know that I have a great answer, like you said, or like I was saying about anything in particular. I know that I've had deals related to my podcast and videos, and people who I've pretty much sold properties based on videos where they see it and they're just like, how do we get in there and see it, or how do we make an offer?
Yeah. I know one time when I was first starting to get into realty tours, video tours, we sold a home without them even coming to the state.
Yeah.
Like they watched the video and they're like, whoa. And then they actually signed and did all the paperwork before they even moved here based off of the video. And I'm like, okay, well, and once the realtor told me that, I'm like, okay, can you please like put that into a text format for a review? Cause that's fantastic. Like that's amazing that they hadn't even seen the property or walked through the house, but through the video, through seeing the space in the way that we chose to present it,
Yeah.
they wanted to purchase it.
Right.
Here's a big one too, and I think a lot of people don't think of it this way, and I've actually been kind of ridiculed for the amount of energy and time and money I've put into my videos from certain people. When I'm starting this, what my goal is to figure out how do I have video content to where I'm in front of people all the time to where my cost of gaining new business is far below anyone else in the industry. So where everyone else is okay with certain people spending $10,000, $20,000 a month to gain, online leads to be able to sell homes and do all that. Yeah, sure, their transaction count is probably higher right now and their income is higher. Their expenses are far higher than anything I have.
Right.
But when I create an organic platform to where people see my stuff all the time, naturally my business is just going to be much larger than theirs, and my cost of having to gain new business is going to be far lower.
Yeah, so you might not do as many deals as some of the next guy, but
Not
your
currently,
your
but
ROI is higher.
the ROI is higher, and we will exceed that. It's just a matter of time. And I'm playing it for the long game. It's not like, okay, well, I want to see this 300% increase my business this year and then next year. May be a slow growth pattern for anyone who's starting out in video and online marketing. But if you figure out how, for YouTube, for example, I'm using YouTube as a tool. People can find me years and years and years down the road. There's no time expiration date to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now to kind of pivot from the video side of it.
Yeah.
So, because I know like generating leads, right? That's obviously important for like a team structure to kind of survive, and to feed all the new people that rely on you now for advice and kind of like cater their trainings and all that good stuff. Now, when it comes to leads, I know there's a lot of people use a lot of different ways to generate leads. I mean, they use Facebook, Google Ads. They use resources that get leads for real estate agents, and then they sell them to the real estate agents, or landing pages and stuff like that. Now, to you, what's worked out better in terms of generating leads from like a best to worst standpoint, or like maybe not best to worst, maybe like priority wise? What's been generating for you? And you can also do like the non-digital stuff, like obviously phone calls, door knocking, and stuff like that.
It's kind of a loaded question. So it depends on where you're at in your business. Everyone who gets into business as a new business owner, whether you're a new real estate agent or a brand new, shop owner of some sort, everyone thinks that they have to immediately go jump into spending money on marketing.
Right.
Now, marketing's key, but if you go spend a bunch of marketing dollars up front and you have all the fancy stuff, you're going to go broke before anyone else does.
Right.
So it's a process. If you're brand new, there are plenty of free ways to get in front of people. One, if we're talking digital, social media is free. We don't pay for social media.
Right.
And I'm not talking paid ads. I'm talking organic feed, stories, engaging with other people online. You do not have to pay for that. It's funny how everyone gets online and they think, oh, I've got to start running paid ads. You don't actually have to run paid ads when you're brand new.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to generate business very rapidly if you're kind of a hustler and you get out and actually start working. Not pay for something and wait for it to come to you.
Yeah. Just sitting there for like 6 months waiting for that deal to just magically come in your inbox.
Yeah, spend the last $1,000 in your savings because you think that Facebook lead's going to get you, or Facebook ad's going to get you right now business.
Right.
Well, some people like fishing, just tossing it out there, watching the bobber and waiting.
Yeah, I like fishing too. I just don't like taking,
in the cold of winter.
I don't like taking going like this with $100 bills into the water where they're never coming back up.
Oh man.
So
like from priority standpoint, what you've seen in your business.
So I don't
door
really
knocking and up.
I don't have a priority. We usually run off of a system of 3. So I have bare minimum 3 main sources of leads. In reality, it's probably closer to 5, but I would say 3 main. And when I first started in business, it was door knocking.
Right.
I didn't have the money to run paid ads. I didn't have even though we were doing the podcast and stuff, it was kind of indirectly having content for my business. It was really me connecting with other business owners in the community.
How did the door knocking pan out right in the beginning for you?
Well, look at where my business is at
Right.
now. I still have I call them leads. They're clients. They're people. I still have people to this day that I'm either running around, doing CMAs to list their property, or we're looking at property to buy because of me door knocking.
Nice.
I got creative too. I think we had this conversation the other day. One of the first things I did was a car event. I've always been into cars and everything. Went to a car event, and I was like, okay, well, it wasn't even my event. It was my buddy putting it on. And so I did this $100 giveaway. I created a form they had to submit it to be entered to win. They had to put their name, number, and email. And it was very clear that if they didn't fill that out, they would be disqualified from the drawing.
Right.
And so for a $100 cash giveaway, they filled out their information. They gave it to the DJ. At the end of the night, we picked out the winner. And from there, I had about 45 names.
Nice.
So you guys as marketers think about for $100, 45 leads.
Yep. Pretty dang good.
Pretty sure that's a pretty good ROI.
Pretty dang cost per acquisition, I'll tell you that much.
Well, I love that, though. I love that you immediately, when you started, were thinking, okay, how do I market this? Because at least from what I've seen, a big mistake a lot of realtors make is they join their group, they get their license, and then they, throughout the Facebook post, hey, everybody, I'm a realtor now. Let me know if you ever need anything.
Yeah, or the daily market updates that nobody looks at.
Yeah, they post that 3 times a week, hoping their high school friends will let them buy or sell a house through them.
Or they understand the market updated post.
I've also been aware of watching what my posts do, because I had a lot of posts like that in the beginning too, where it was like a market update, or hey, I'm a realtor. Hey, I can help you buy or sell a home. Who do you guys know? One, we've got to stop treating social media like a fucking infomercial.
Right.
It's not a 24-hour infomercial.
Amen.
Think about, I started noticing it very early on, of when I would put one of those posts up, it had 0 likes or 1 or 2 likes, very, very low. But if I put a picture up of me and my son or my kids or whatever, or something that had me in it, it was through the roof.
Right, yeah.
People can't relate to a Google picture that you're throwing online, acting like you're putting content out. That's not when we all talk about throwing content online every day, it's not taking garbage from Google and reposting it.
Well, it's the jab, 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 right hook, like Gary Vaynerchuk always teaches.
Yeah, exactly. So he talks about that, and a lot of people, he's abrasive to some people, but honestly, he's a genius, because we should be using social media for what it was meant for. It was to engage and connect with other people. And if you have something of value to give to someone else to help them, then people will listen.
Yep.
Right.
But if you sit there and want to sell to them all day with an infomercial ad, I just scroll past it.
Oh, man.
Right.
Yeah, but you see that every single day, especially out here, dude, with real estate agent. I feel like on my feed, there's always a post that's just a real estate with his picture, and then just his contact information posted on the groups and stuff like that out here, the classifieds. I feel like it's every single day.
So I will give someone slack if they're new, because there's a learning curve.
Right.
I had the same one, and that's okay. That's part of the process. You learn what works and what doesn't. You should keep going. But the guys who've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, or the teams that are still posting the same nonsense on their page, and then they tell everyone else, oh, social media doesn't work. Well, yeah, stupid, you're not using it right.
Well, it's old business, but what I like about your approach is, even if you did do that starting out, a lot of realtors, I feel like they don't run it like a business.
Yeah.
And then they don't run it like a good business. So it's almost
it's definitely a hobby mentality for a lot of people,
Right.
where from the very beginning, and this isn't by accident. I purposely educate myself every morning. Even to this day, when I'm up working out in the morning, if I get on the treadmill, then I'm watching new ways to market my business. I'm looking at creative, even if it's something I've watched the video for 5 times, I gather something new out of it. And then I don't implement all of those things, because I can't do 100 different ways, but it might help me refine oh, wow, I should do this slightly different, because that's going to make things a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right.
Or cost effective.
Willingness to learn is a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
How was the pivot from going to, because I know we've done a lot of video together, from going from informational videos to ad videos, the difference of when you got on camera, was it was it daunting to you, or was were you nervous or anything like that?
It's a different, I think if we went and shot an ad today, it would be completely different than even 5 months ago.
Right.
Because it is a different mindset when you're doing an ad. Doing an organic video, if we're here talking, it's pretty casual setup, right? And I can sit here and have a normal conversation. But when I have to remember lines of things that I want to put in my ad, I don't do it very well. So I usually try to wing it,
Right.
because it's a little bit more organic. You've helped me with some of those and made fun of me through them. It's just a process. You've got to learn what works for you. And so if it doesn't feel comfortable, then change it up a little bit.
Right.
We learned on our new agent welcome videos that having the agent by themselves, having to be asked questions and to look at a camera and not another person and answer them, put them into a really uncomfortable spot, and then they weren't able to answer very easily. So then we switched it up on the last one where I had an interview style video, and it went super smooth. They were able to open up, and you're able to learn more about the person that way too. So I guess learning what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And then if it's works for you but you're uncomfortable, then practice it.
Yeah, learn, test, learn.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest takeaway of that is you adapt to what works best for you, because in your team, and because instead of like forcing, so a new team member, like you were saying, you adapted to, like, we figured out that they like to be asked questions. Well, some people, some business owners don't adapt anything to either their customers, their employees, or anything. And so
It's because their ego's too big.
you're right. They think they're doing everything right, instead of being like, well, we might have done that wrong. We should do something that like they might like, and then you ask questions and you kind of pinpoint what you can do differently, because you have humility, and that's what marketing is all about. Like no one's gonna do the right thing all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to figure that out when you go into your business, and that's why you adapt to absolutely everything. Because I've seen it throughout your business. You're adapting throughout absolutely every part of it, and then you're focusing on trying to fix it, and then you put a process in place to actually pursue it instead of just talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what works for some people doesn't work for others.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll know, and people will know that when they have teams of people working with them, that, you know, everyone learns slightly different and everyone does things a little bit different. I just drew a blank. I was going to go over something.
So let's just go over for just to close it out. What has marketing done for you entirely, and what would you recommend a new real estate agent looking to get into it, and what would you tell them to do to start the process of getting their name out there?
Well, exactly what I tell everyone on my team to do on our Monday meetings. It's start with one post a day. So whatever that might be, I don't care if it's a story. You just create the habit. First create the habit, and then add on to it later. You don't need to look at the 100 different, social media channels and get overwhelmed and go, how do I do this? And then you don't do anything because you're paralyzed in fear. Start with one post a day. If you're uncomfortable on pictures or video, then I would challenge you to do a 15-day challenge, which I actually learned this from my buddy Kyle Draper with Social Media Mindset. Basically, you take a video of yourself every day. I don't care what it is. You don't have to post it. You take a video every single day. It could be stored in your phone, but by the end of the 15 days, you should be, if you do it and actually do it and not lie about it,
Right.
you'll be comfortable on video. And then take one of those and post them.
Nice. I like that.
Because there's a lot of people who are just insecure, and it's not so much like they don't know what to do. They know what to do. They don't do it because they think that people are going to judge them. That's an insecurity issue that everyone's got to overcome. And you got to realize, why the fuck are you holding yourself back for someone who wouldn't give a shit about you?
Right. Exactly. Why do you care about what other people think online when at the end of the day, just be yourself?
So,
don't fake it, obviously.
Yeah.
practice one post a day. If you can't get on video, practice that before posting it, and then figure out how to build a system around it to where you don't let it drop.
Gotcha.
Because if you're relying on, I'm going to do these 3 posts a day and this video every single day, and you have to actually physically do that every day, it won't work.
So putting it so make a day where you schedule out all of your content, and then or you film it and you create it, and then you schedule it out all on maybe over the weekend when you're with your family or at night when everybody's asleep. You get it all scheduled out, and then you can clear up your schedule for the week to go focus on other things.
Yeah, whatever that looks like. So if you do it once a month and you schedule out for 30 days, or you do it once a week and you do it for the next week, and then you're good.
lock in a good routine.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. Also, for anybody listening, so there's some free services like Hootsuite and Later. They're also paid if you have multiple channels, but there's some good tools that you can use to actually schedule this stuff out. And also, Facebook Creator Suite has a free platform to use for Instagram and Facebook if you guys want to get into that, just so you can get your stuff out there and scheduling it out. So.
And I will say, Later just implemented just 2 days ago, because I have a Later account. You can schedule LinkedIn account or a post now.
Wow. Okay.
Awesome.
That was hard. Yeah. That's why I didn't use them, dude, for a while, because they didn't do Google My Business or LinkedIn or Pinterest. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well,
no, they did Pinterest.
Did they?
They've always done Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, but they just added in LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yeah. Well, yeah. Those Later, Hootsuite, and then Google's or Facebook Business Suite.
Yep.
So those are pretty good ones. Now, we're going to close it out. So, Andy, what did you think about the Ballatin? I'm probably butchering that name horribly. Ballatin Bourbon Ball.
Well, if I could have reached the bottle, I probably would have poured some more. And I don't like.
Maybe I'll buy 3 now just to have on everybody's desk.
I'm not a hard alcohol drinker, but that was really good.
That's dangerous. That's a dangerous whiskey.
I know what I'm going to get for tonight.
Really?
As dangerous as dessert. It's just.
Well, it's like drinking that the coconut rum. You don't feel it until like your 4th drink in, and then you're just like everything just hits you.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a hard alcohol drinker, and usually have a few beers once in a while, but.
Yeah, this is good. So chocolate whiskey. It just basically tastes like a chocolate. I mean, there's no other notes in it. Yeah. When you drink it, your nose hits that like really like alcohol-y bite to it, but you don't taste anything. Oh,
yeah. It smells like a bourbon when you smell it, but it doesn't taste like one.
And the sting goes away, but the sweetness stays.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sucking on a.
I actually had a buddy give this to me. It was my new neighbor, John. I've known him for a while, and he actually put me onto this. And the moment I tried it, I had to get it. So he just gave it to me and said, "Dude, just take it. I'll get another one."
Bringing it on the podcast.
Can you just bring a straw in here?
I know.
Right.
I just walk into the office. And you're like, Josh, what's it do? It's 5 a.m. I don't know. It's good. So, yeah, dude, thanks for coming on the podcast. I know you'll be on a lot of them in the future because, I like you a lot.
You're our special friend.
You're one of my special friends.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, thanks for having me on, you guys. It's awesome that you guys are doing this. So.
Yeah, thanks, man. So if you guys want to go check out the podcast, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and then all the streaming platforms. I like Spotify the best, personally, listen to stuff, but we're on Spotify, Apple iTunes, and all the main ones. So if you want to listen to that, we're also going to be posting clips you guys can watch on our Instagram channels. So go to Pulse Productions and Miller Media Co., either or, and you will see the episodes there. So thanks for watching, guys, and peace.
See ya.